Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you, Brittany, for being our host. I'll be your wingman today, uh, talking about Dynamics GP tips and tricks for SmartLists. We are Endeavor4 and GP Support North. Over 650 active GP clients across North America. And we serve as your safe haven for short-term and long-term support. So welcome and thank you. Just a little bit of housekeeping for those that have been longtime clients of Endeavors. We've changed our logo recently to Endeavor4. We still have Endeavor Solutions for our Canadian clients as well. And GP Support North is our Dynamics GP support team within Endeavor4. Welcoming clients from Express Info, from Dynasys, from HSO, from JustieSoft, a variety of acquisitions and clients joining us over the last 2 years, and then previous to that, last 6-7 years. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we're obviously here to help you get the most out of your systems. And since you're joining us, you're on GP, so hashtag GP strong, hashtag GP forever. We have the GP Revolution, which is the formings of our own user group to really keep a focus on educational content for you and your team, both short-term and long-term on Dynamics GP. Today's agenda, slightly different from the original invite. Brittany's added in some additional parts on SmartList security. It really serves as that basis for what you can access, what you can share, and spreading your SmartLists across your organization. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll be getting into those momentarily when I switch this over to Brittany. First, I want to talk about the GP roadmap. Nothing's changed since last year beyond GP 18.8 came out in October of 2025, which we call GP 2026. The next version, 18.9, will be coming out October again of this year, and we'll be calling that GP 2027. Kind of like a new model year on the car. Gets released late fall and ready to rock and roll for the rest of the year. The end of life for Dynamics GP is officially December 31st, 2029, as per Microsoft and all of their updates. That would be payroll, security updates, functional updates, tax updates, any bug fixes and holes. And then there's this extended security, which goes till April 2031. We do not know what that is. Our best guess is it may be absolutely nothing, or if there are some fundamental flaws found in SQL Server and there needs to be a patch or a different patch within Dynamics GP, then those will be available and you'll be able to attain those through Endeavor. And looking at life beyond Dynamics GP, so come 2029, what does GP look like? You're still good to go. We're still here to support you. The system is still stable. Again, there's those TBD-determined security updates from Microsoft till April of 2031. From a compliancy perspective, technically from a gray area, that's still Microsoft supporting your systems, and obviously Endeavor supporting you till that time and past that time. GP 2018.8, Brittany did a great webinar earlier this year on the what's new. And at that time, we talked about SQL Server 2025 and Windows Server 2025. SQL and Windows, those are sort of it's your database and your operating system. Those are typically updated every 3 years. So theoretically, there'd be a SQL Server 2028 and Windows Server 2028 coming out before that official end of life from Microsoft. When you update your database and operating system, you're getting the additional security for those and the patches, and they're typically good for 10 years. So now we're looking at 2035 or potentially 2038. Again, just ways to mitigate your risk. We have that GP Revolution. That is our internal user group. We'll be extending that externally to some customers, and really a centralized focus on curated content for GP training materials and focusing on life after 2029. We also have some great talented teams within Endeavor4, both for Business Central as well as finance and supply chain. Moving GP to large enterprise or moving GP to comparable mid-market with GP with Business Central are both viable options, as well as staying on Dynamics GP as long as you can. And that's all based on your perception of risk and our advice around the risks of those, and you making those decisions for if and when you're ready. Last point on this page is the GP support plans. Many of you in this call have already been talking to Paul Sarazan on our team about our unlimited break-fix support plans. Those can be purchased separately, or our unlimited break-fix support plans have specialized pricing related to your current enhancements. So please look for his calls if you haven't spoken to him directly, and obviously keep in touch. It's a fantastic plan. I would say extremely high adoption, close to 95 to 100% of clients are moving into our Endeavor4 GP support plans. And those that are on our unlimited break-fix support and other GP support plans through Endeavor4, Brittany will have some of our SmartLists available for you at no charge as a thank you. A thank you for being our client and working with us and trusting us. So before we get to Brittany's section, the last is a little shout out. Brittany has also volunteered to help us with a 4-part summer webinar series. They'll be on Thursdays every 2 weeks, June 11th, then Thursday, June 25th, then Thursday, July 9th, then Thursday, July 23rd. Keep an eye out for those invites, and she's going to have a lot of great content. Again, tying back to the GP revolution and starting to look ahead of what does life look like now and what should you be doing between now and 2029, and what does life look like after that 2029 arbitrary date from Endeavor, or from Microsoft and obviously Endeavor. So the GP Golden Years, it's the third act. Lots of life still in Dynamics GP, but we are getting close to retirement. So Brittany, over to you. SmartList tips and tricks. These are your 5 areas of focus. Brittany's going to get out a PowerPoint. When we get into recording and slicing and dicing this, we'll put back in some bookends. But for now, everyone, here is the flow of Brittany, and make us proud. Thank you, Brittany.
Well, thanks, Scott. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brittany. Those of you who do know me, it's great to see you. I've met a lot of you through the Sport Desk over the years. But my name is Brittany, and I have been at Endeavor for a little over a decade. I've been doing GP for more than that, but we're not going to date myself today. And actually, I was really excited that Scott asked me to do a series, and SmartList is one of my favorite topics. So I was going to show some of my favorites today and some of the fundamentals that come along with SmartLists. We know them. We love them. Sometimes we have some harsh words to say about them because they're not quite doing what we want. But to a certain extent, SmartLists are an open canvas for us. So as you can tell, I am sharing GP here because I love to get down into right into it with GP. I'm sure it's the most beautiful thing you've seen today, or you've at least seen GP at least once today. So we're going to talk about SmartLists. And I'm going to talk about a little bit of a silent topic first thing right off the bat. I'm going to hop into SmartList here. Now, those of you who are maybe using E1 SmartView and not SmartList, do not count yourself out. All of this still applies to you as well. And if you want to know some more about SmartView, we have some great previous content that we did a couple of years ago about SmartView. It's a known and loved one out in the GP community with our fellow GPers. But don't count yourself out. If you're using SmartView, this content applies to you as well, but I am going to stick inside a SmartList.
And Brittany, if they're using E1 SmartList Builder, which is also related to it, same as this part, and As everyone knows, it was rebranded as PopDoc, but you still get the licensing for SmartList and SmartList Builder and SmartList Builder, the viewer.
A SmartList view, yeah. So yes, this all applies to them today as well. I want to make a shout out because lots of us do use SmartView. It's great. I love it as well, but I am going to keep it inside of SmartList today. And one other thing is I am logged into my demo environment as SA, which means I have unlimited security. I can do whatever I want. Well, not whatever I want, but I like to think so. So of course, if there are some additional things on my screen that you don't have, you might be restricted by security. But since we're talking about security and we're coming a little bit into audit season, or maybe closing audit season for some of you, if any of you ever had to create those user security reports for your audit team and maybe cried a little, there is a fun smart list that we can create. It is a custom one, and it is one of my favorite ones. It's called this security audit. So this is one we put together a few years ago on Endeavor, actually, to help a lot of our clients. So what it puts out here is what user has access to what company, what security role, and what tasks do they have, and what do those tasks do? Now, of course, one thing about power user is they have access to everything, so their stuff is blank, but everybody else, it's my security task is like admin company 001. I can set up company options such as account format, fiscal periods, blah, blah, blah. And because it's a smart list, it goes out to Excel, nice and easy. You can give that out to your auditors or maybe even your internal IT team to make sure that they have that information inside of there. Okay?
And I remember, Brittany, we did a newsletter a while ago about spring cleanup and running some of this to make sure that people are still in your organization.
Yeah, you want to make sure that if you have any users that have left your organization or maybe working in a different part of your organization, you have updated their security appropriately. But it is also an easier way to see it once it's out into Excel. Although I love to live inside of SQL, which is the database for GP, Excel is the next best thing when we're talking about it. So we do have this nice security audit one, goes out to Excel. It's great.
And Brittany, how do people get this?
So if you contact us after this one, Scott will give you some more information about how to contact us. But if you are part of our support plans, we are giving out these custom smart lists you see today. They are yours if you would like them. We will also have a question and answer session at the end that if there are any smart lists I didn't show today, but you are wanting to know if they're possible or not possible, feel free to hang out and come ask some questions at the end. And I think Scott will enable the Q&A section at some point.
So for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so our security. This is a nice, easy way to give it out to audit. While we're talking about security, I also want to make sure that if you've ever created a custom smart list and then you go to your friend or you go to somebody else in the company and they say, I don't see it, I don't know what you're talking about. That is because you haven't granted security access to the actual smart list themselves. And you might say to me, Brittany, where does that exist? Great question. I'm going to go pick on user security here, and I'm going to throw on my user. And I've actually created a role just for today's demonstration, or you might actually have one called 00 ESI Smart List or ESI Smart Lists. This is a very common practice for us if we've built you any smart lists in the past, is that inside of this role, we have to give ourselves a task. And I'm going to put these windows separately. So where's my task here? So our ESI Smart List, any custom smart list you create to anyone who is not a power user has to be given a task that has a smart list. So I'm lining these windows up side by side just so you see them. So this is the user security, this is the role, and then this is the task itself. The task comes out of smart list as our product type, smart list object, and smart list objects again. These are all of your smart lists. Now, as you can tell, these are the standard ones we know and love inside of GP, like account summary, account transactions, all that good stuff. But I've made some custom ones here. and I need to assign them. So once I assign them into this role, I then need to assign that role to users. Now, of course, you can have multiple SmartList roles because maybe you only want to give your custom SmartList roles for inventory to some users and financial separately. You can mix and match those as you see fit, but I wanted to make sure we understand the security behind SmartList. Now, this is the GP GUI security itself. The only other part of security is if you've already granted security inside of GP to the user that you want to see the smart list, the only other place is the pure SQL. So for some of you, which I know do play inside of SQL, typically all of our smart lists exist inside of a view. Okay. And I'm just going to hop to one of my views here. So if we look at this view here and we right click it and we look at the properties themselves, you have to look who the permissions are. And typically we want to give permissions out to Dine Group. Dine Group is your group that has all of your GP users in it. You can get a little bit more creative and be very specific to what users can see what views, especially if that information is sensitive or we don't want everyone to see it. Whatever the case may be, you have that option inside here. One little fun trick while we're in SQL here, any of the default smart lists you're used to seeing, like the financial account summaries and accounts, all the ones that are native to GP, they are literally called the same thing in their view. So if you look at accounts, transactions, those are the views that the smart list makes up. So if you ever want to see some of that logic or you want to pull someone's smart list into something else, they did not creatively name it, which is a bonus for us that we get to see where those are from. However, I'm not going to be hanging out too much in SQL today, but I wanted to make sure we understand that there's two components to security for any smart list. The task and role being assigned to the user, and then of course the SQL security ensuring that they can see those views. Now I am going to let you know that I am using a lot of custom views today that of course we will be giving out later if you contact us, but that I wanted to make sure you understood that security inside of there. So let's hop into kind of some oldie but goodie tricks in here and then hop into some of my favorite smart lists. The first smart list I'm going to pick on today is actually a default one out of the box of GP. And it is inside of our financials account transactions. If you are ever curious about how you can tie your pure journal entries GL back to whatever subledger it came from, it comes from a few handy columns. And they are the originating doc number, master ID, master name, and transaction source and type. So these will only be populated if the series is not financial. And the reason is if we look here, I actually have sales pulled up. The originating master ID and master name will be customers when it comes from sales, vendors when it comes from payables, so on and so on. But you can tie that all the way back. Okay. If you've ever also wondered as well, when you double click here and it goes to your transaction entry zoom, this actually comes from your go-to menus. If you ever want to go to a different go-to menu or add a go-to menu to any of yours, that double click is called the go-tos, and you can add those and subtract them as you see fit, but you can also go somewhere else. I can go to account maintenance or whatever I would like inside of here. So I know that's an oldie but a goodie trick. I like to make sure we put it out there. Yes, Scott.
Christina had a question. How do you know if it's a custom smart list versus something built through SmartList Builder versus other smart list?
Oh, that's a great question. I love that you asked that, actually. A lot of times we always know that any of the ones that some of us just know from being legacies inside of GP, that these are our core ones. But if you ever come into these, and you see here, you can't modify them. That is because they are a core GP smart list versus any of my custom ones, that modify button turns on for me because they're not a core GP smart list. So any of the native ones, GP is protecting itself. You cannot modify them. You can reuse them, but you can't modify them. That's a great question. And I'm really glad you asked it, actually. Okay, so one thing I have to say about GP, I'm going to say this here, is who thought the first 1,000 records was a good idea was not my friend, because I generally like more than 1,000 records. Lots of us have come in here as a default, and we learn to go like 99999 to give us all the records that we want. Sometimes I find this tiring. There is another option inside your GP Smart Lists, and I know you probably thought there's GP Smart List options. Yes, there is. They're a little hidden. They're under our tools setup system, and they're under our Smart List options here. And any one of those, so if I actually go to my accounts, oops, we can go to accounts or financials, whatever the case may be, or account transactions. I can make my maximum records now 999,000, and I can change what the default columns are here so that every time I open it, that is what I'm going to get. Okay, so if I always wanted the originating debit and credit and maybe document date, and I wanted my maximum records to always be 999,000. Once I set that Smart List option and obviously close the Smart List window, if I come back to my account transactions, you'll notice that I've now changed my maximum records. So if you've ever gotten tired of changing that maximum records all the time, you can change that. It's a good one. Sometimes it sneaks up on you that you don't always want to change it. And you can change your default rows here as well. One fun thing which
Brittany, changing that, does that do it for everyone or just the user?
All users. It is a company-wide, it is actually system-wide setup. So if you change that for your core ones, no matter which GP company you are in or what GP user you are now going to get 999,000 records. But you brought up a great point, Scott, which was one of the next things I was going to talk about here, is when you're inside that setup, and you are in our Smart List options, you actually see this Modify Smart List Favorite. If you have favorites and you say, don't ever touch them, I don't want people to modify them, you can put a password on it. If you don't want to share, or this is a key one to your business, you can put a password on it. Not that I've ever been known to do this.
If you are changing for everyone, I would suggest you send them an email to say, hey, I modified. This is not a system error. This was a purposeful change of the columns. Your Smart List will look different.
Yeah, we can always do those as well. Or you can just do them and see if anyone notices your maximum in there. I like changing the maximum. I typically max them out when I do Smart Lists because I hate 1,000. 1,000 is not enough. I want them all. Okay. Now let's talk about some of our custom Smart Lists. And some of my favorites, actually. I'm going to pick on AP first. Not because of anything, but I like AP, so we're going to go hang out in there. The first one I'm going to actually talk about in here is our AP ESI PM Apply Detail. If you've ever tried to go through and look at a payment and see what it paid and what was that payment for, and you're trying to see 6 of them and you're going through those inquiry windows, it can be exhausting. So we've created a Smart List. It's nice and easy for us. It tells me what my vendor ID is, what type of payment it was, what checkbook it came out of. Of course, the payment date, the date it hit your GL, because we know that's very important, especially for our bank recs and our AP subledgers, is and then what is it applied to, right? So what invoice did I apply it to, and how much did I apply it for? So this gives us a nice, easy way to take a look at this. Over my career, I've seen lots of people use this Smart List, and they've created with some really great pivot tables and some great information that comes off of this base view, which is fantastic. Every business has this a little slightly different. What is important to them as to, is it when they paid them, how they paid them, did they put more than invoices together? But it gives you that nice view inside of there. The other part as well, of course, this is your normal Smart List. You can use any one of these search columns to search by. Okay. Now, one of the fun tricks I like to also use inside of here is if we go to our vendor ID, and I do use this on the GL side as well if I'm looking for something. Also, if I can spell here. is what if I don't know what the company is that came under? Because sometimes we have vendors that have, they're under two names. Maybe it came from the parent or came from the child or came from corp and not. I don't know which one it's for. And you might say, how do I search both of those? That's a great idea. And we're going to go with advanced here. And I'm going to make this one begin with as well. See this little search type here? If you go match all, it has to go where my vendor ID is equal to ACE Travel and vendor ID is equal to Advance. But I can say match one or more, which works like an or statement for those of us who hang out in SQL too often. I'm now saying the vendor ID can be ACE Travel or Advanced to do that. So now I can pick it up and I can see that a little bit more. This is often a common trick we do inside the financial or account transactions where I say, give me a debit or a credit amount equal to this because we're looking to see if maybe we backed out an entry and we can't find it, or I don't know. We're looking for something. It is a handy trick to help us out inside of there. This, however, is one of my favorite payables SmartList to show what is my apply detail instead of going through all of those windows. Although it is great and is part of our native GP to be able to go through those inquiry windows, we are literally looking at what applied to it. If you want to see what that window for the inquiry looks like, this is where we're actually looking inside of here. And we look at our advanced and we look at a payment. And see this apply window here. Now I could have more than one document applied or 12 or 1. This window here is what we are representing. We are representing what payment was applied to what and for how much inside the SmartList. We've just done it in a flat way that allows us to export it to Excel. And of course, once it's in Excel, you can do pivot tables or anything else. If you want to build on top of this one, we can as well. We can add some more logic in here, but I like this one as a nice base. Now you might say to me, that's great that I can see the invoice apply detail, but what if I need to see what was actually distributed as well? What were my distributions? I would say I also have a secondary favorite for this one, depending how far we want to go into that, is now we're looking at it. What is our vendor? What was the type or the payment type that we had? Of course, our checkbook, what day that payment hit, what is the amount applied to, what invoice was it applied to, and what GL transaction did that invoice make? So as in what taxes and expense accounts or maybe asset accounts did I hit to make sure that we can see that? So we can tie all three of those together, being the payment, what invoice or invoices did that payment pay, and then of course what GL distributions did the invoice have. Now, you might ask why I don't have the payment distributions in here. The reason I generally leave it out is it just adds a little too much bulky information, and typically payments are always debiting AP and crediting cash. So typically by the checkbook, we know which GL it's going to do. But of course, this is where we're showing you that we can layer in some additional information, right? We can go right from the payment to what invoice did it pay, and then of course, what were the pure old debits and credits. For those of us in here that are using AA, I didn't forget about you. We can add in your AA dimensions in here as well. However, because everyone's AA dimensions are different, we do have to add some custom code onto here for that. But we're happy to give you this space to see it. And if you'd like a hand with adding in those extra AA dimensions, feel free to contact us out in the support desk. We love talking about it. And as Scott said, there are quite a few of us who have spent a few years, maybe even decades inside of GP. We're not going to tell us how old we are today. Okay.
Not at all. Not at all.
No,
we do have some people that remember when GP was on a floppy disk. So.
Oh, or pervasive. That is a fun joke that we do. For any of you who remember pervasive, don't. I'm just kidding. That's some of the dark ages of GP. Okay. That's all well and good that we're talking about what payment applied to the straight AP invoice. That's fantastic. But what if you're not using AP and we are going full-blown on POP and we are using those purchase orders? I'm still with you. We can do our PO payment, which we can actually say which PO and which receipt number that made our invoice, what payment and payment amount did it make. Now, In this one, I have done this slightly different, is that when we actually have our PO and our receipt number, I have put that if there's I didn't want to exclude any POs that haven't been paid. So I've put a payment type in here, open for payment, meaning there has been no payment applied against it yet, but it is open for payment. And the reason I've done this report this way is because we have users that actually typically want to see this both ways. Hey, what POs are out for payment right now? I need to know because we need to budget for it or make sure we get our prime vendors looked after. And then we also have the opposite where people are looking for to say, hey, what PO and what payment did we make? Did they get it? Are we reconciling? Or even sometimes they're using it for some cash flow basis as well, per warehouse, per vendor, for whatever. And of course, because this has all of our standard search criteria that we can put in here, and of course we can add our favorites like we're used to seeing, you can make that, you can slice and dice this core one as you see fit. Okay. If you need additional PO information here, here's a handy trick. And this works with both SmartList Builder or SmartList Designer. SmartList Designer has become a native part of GP and is part of your product after GP 2013. You might say to me, Brittany, why are you talking about 2013? We do still have some clients who are on prior versions prior to 2013, which is why I have to put it out there. If you are using some prior versions, please feel free to contact us and talk to us about what that upgrade could look like for you, especially in our new kind of roadmap that we have going on in GP. Have a chat with us. I'm sure Francis and Scott would love to chat with you about it, or even me. We would love to talk about it. But if you're using GP 2013 or higher, you have SmartList Designer, which is inside of this modify function. If there's additional tables or SmartList that you want to pull more information in, we can do those joins. You'll see this left database view here on the side here. We can pull up any of the custom SmartLists and mash them together, or even the core ones. So if you look here under our SmartLists, you will see any of that typical information that you're used to seeing. You can add it in here. Or if you remember that I told you at the beginning here, all of those views that make up those core GP Smart Lists are in here. So if we were to go to our purchase order, where are you, purchase orders? Purchase orders here, and I open it up, I can add in any additional things. So let's say I wanted to also see my PO status in here. I could say I want to join based on my PO number, purchase orders, and I want it to be joined on PO number. So you do have to find a piece of data that does join them together. And typically those pieces that join it together are things like document numbers, voucher numbers, PO numbers, all of those parts that make that transaction unique. In this case, I'm joining them together, and now I can add that PO status inside of this one. And now you notice I have my PO status here as well. I can add multiple. It's not just 2 tables. You can kind of go to as many tables as you want. If you need, say, hey, I have my PO status, but I also want to, if you are using additional GP products, like maybe Extender or any of the other ISVs out there, you can add those tables in as well to make sure that you see that information as you want. Okay. So you definitely have all of that information. I am preferential to using the views here just because I like to see all of it there instead of going into each individual one. But if you know where it exists inside of GP, you will find it inside of there. Yes.
A question from your marketing wingman. We're making all these changes. Any recommendations on how to name these smart lists, copy the smart list so you can keep the one with the changes, without the changes, with a different change? Like if we wanted to have the join, like did we just break that report or added it to the report without breaking it? But how do you save to the new version?
Yeah.
And find it?
So in this case, I have added it to this one. Once I hit OK, it'll come in here. Now, if you want to add a whole new one, we can actually highlight this one here. Hit new, it'll do this one, and now I actually give this a new name. So I can say this is my ESOPO payment version 2, or add any additional information in there? That is a good question.
With PO status.
Yeah, we want to make sure that any of the ones that we want to, let's say, copy or save as, we highlight it, hit new, and we can add a new one. You can add and save as many times as you want. Okay. Now, one thing here is you might notice you don't actually have enough security to come into modifying it. It is one of the elevated security roles inside of GP. I like to make sure it stays within our elevated crowd, not because I don't trust people, but just because sometimes these smart lists become a very heavy and integral part of what we're doing inside of GP. We're using reports. We sometimes want to make sure that those are very intentional changes that we are making inside of GP. Okay. And if you need to know how to change your security roles and tasks to do that, please feel free to reach out. I know we talked a bit about it at the beginning, but sometimes it can be a little overwhelming if you need to change it en masse for all of those users. Okay. So now we can see we can add in multiple joins inside of here. For those of you who might be playing inside of SQL, saying you are or not saying you're not, but if you are, your query will always show here, and you can always pick it up, copy and paste. I know that this is showing in white text, so you may not see it on my screen very well, but it is there in white text, and you'll see it in your own, but your T-SQL query will always be here. Or if you are using SmartList Builder and you go to your go-tos up here, you will see that you will have your SQL query as well. If you're looking to see what joins you have or what you don't, will always be inside of there. There is a handy feature though. If you don't know how to join the two tables together, there is an auto link. There is an auto link that you can do between them, and it will create that relationship for you. Now, I will say it does not always work, but it is a handy trick in there if you do want to use that. Okay. Now, if you want to preview it before you see it, you can execute your query up here before you save it, and you can see what those results will come up prior to it, and you can go from there. Okay. Now, before you save it as well, you'll notice that you have these series, and that's what represents these folders here. So if you need to share them in a very particular place, that is how you do it. Okay. All right, now that we have our ESI PO payment that shows that these are the POs, this is what payment paid them, and this is my PO status. And of course, we show that we can have a second one. That's great that we can show our PO has been paid. What if we want to see what sales documents are attached to it? For those of you who are using the Stop to Pop link, this is one of my favorite ones to show, hey, do I have any Stop to Pop links out there, first of all? Second of all, what are they? So I've put in here our customer, our order number, our item, and then what is our PO number, our vendor ID, and our vendor name. Now, of course, if you need to see some more information, we can add in additional columns, or of course, we can do our modify and add additional stuff in here. Now, I like to see it just as the Stop to Pop to make sure that we see that we have them or don't have them, because sometimes we have those moments of, uh-oh, we forgot to attach the Stop to Pop and we don't have that link inside of there. So this is a nice little handy one inside. What if those of us who might be going a little bit deeper on the SOP side, and I'm going to stop picking on purchasing here, I'm going to start picking on sales, is if you're using serial numbers or lot numbers, that adds a whole other fun new component inside of there that we need to track additional information. GPs out of the box smart lists don't very well pick up our serial number and lot numbers. So we've created this smart list for us, and it actually shows what is our document status, of course, the SOP number, the SOP type, order dates, customer ID, a bunch of stuff about the lines, like where's the line going to, where is it shipping to, all of that great information here. But my favorite part of this is our item description. And if we look here to the very right, is that I have my serial and lot numbers here if you needed to see them. And you might say to me, hey, Brittany, I had 5 units that I was selling. It actually shows your serial or lot numbers for all 5. It just uses a comma delimited to separate them. If you need to split them into columns, we can do that as well, but we do have it comma delimited here if you want to feed that into something else. As a fun side note, if you are using any like product catalogs, or you need to update those, or maybe some e-commerce sites that you need to update sales history, and you may have been a little handcuffed that you weren't able to provide that serial and lot information, you can use this SmartList as a trick to pull that and give that out to your customers, or even to some of those other products you might be using, or even just the, hey, I have a recall on a lot number. I need to search that lot number and see every single order that I did to, and maybe get in contact with those customers. This is a nice handy way for you to do them as well. It gives you that lot tracking inside of there. Of course, if you have this does not get rid of your standard serial lot tracking window that you're used to inside of Inquiry. It's just giving you a way to go and export that out to Excel so that you can see what you need to see inside of there. Okay. Now that we're picking on inventory, because we're just going to pick on inventory here, let's talk about our lot inventory. So this has always been a little bit of a hot topic. It can get kind of a little bit, I don't want to say messy, because we definitely keep track of our inventory, and GP does a fantastic job of keeping that inventory in there, is if I have any lots that move from one to the other, or bin codes, we have a SmartList here that will say what document number on what doc date moved what items from and to, and what were the reason codes on it, and maybe what was the lot quantity. We can also have any additional information in here as well. This is specific to lots. We do have another one as well that does this for serial numbers if you want to do that, and not just serial numbers for SOP, but if you're using lots or serial numbers, it is the same SmartList. We're just using lots or serial numbers, or swapping them in between. I do know a couple of you in this call are using a combination of lots and serial numbers. Not to point you out in this crowd, but you are using lot and serial numbers. This SmartList actually works for both. You will see the lot and the serial number and see those movements for it. I just have the column named as lot number, but of course we can modify that column name. If you ever have a SmartList and you say that column name is not truly depicting what it's supposed to be, did any of you know that you can change what it's actually called? So if I said I didn't want this to be called my lot number, I can name this lot serial, and I don't have to change it at, oopsies, I didn't hit save. Yeah, lot serial number. Okie dokie. And refresh. We can actually change what that column is named here. Now we have it named as lot serial number. And we can also change its, whether it's further up, further down. You do not have to keep it as where it is, but you can rename those columns if you need the display name to change. As if you do change the display name, when you export it out to Excel, that display name stays with it. It is always going to be there, and yours, you can change them, especially if you're maybe looking at some very specific tables inside of GP. They don't have the best naming all the time. We can change those inside of there. Okay. So that is our lot inventory that we have inside of here. Okay. So far we have covered that we can have our security audit. We can have some payables and seeing where they go to. And then of course our sales and our SOP. And then I want to move a little bit back into financial. And I know you might say, hey, we've done a lot of financial. Yes. But for some of you, we might be having to either roll our consolidated balances into maybe a parent company, or maybe we are ultimately making that choice to move to another product, or you're staying with GP and you still need to have that. This is actually one of my favorites, is a historical trial balance. Not the traditional one we see inside of MR, where we've added in all of that great formatting that we're used to seeing inside of FRX or MR, depending what you're using. But this one can be used as a nice export to go into any templates you might be doing if you need to report into another entity, or maybe you actually just are needing to move to another system, or you need to feed another system with those pure old net changes by month. This is one of my favorite ones to bring into financials of, hey, this is my year, this is my account, this is my beginning balance, and then of course every month till I get to my total net change, and this is my ending balance. This can be a nice handy one. I know that not all of you follow a calendar fiscal year. Yes, this can totally be modified to match your fiscal year. My fiscal year in my demo company happens to be calendar so that I can remember the months. But obviously knowing that not all of you have that, it is dynamic to match your fiscal periods. It is also dynamic because if you are using this in multiple companies in your GP environment, not all of your companies might have the same fiscal period. Although if they don't, maybe we should have a chat about bringing them in line. It's a lot easier when you're trying to close. But if not, that's cool too. It is dynamic to make sure that we have each one of those fiscal periods inside of there. Nice and easy in there. For those of you that are using AA, okay, and as I said, we could bring the AA into any of those payables reports or even the sales reports if you are using AA. We do have a custom AA report where we do have our year, our account number, our debit amount, the distribution ID, the assignment ID. However, if you are seeing no AA reports, there are your standard out-of-the-box AA reports that are inside your analytical accounting setup, and you have to be in as DynSA or SA to turn them on. You will notice that all of those AA views are actually already in there. That you'll notice that you have your AA open transactions. Okay, this actually has all of that information, and they are customized by default out of the box by GP for all of your dimensions, because as I said, your dimensions are set by you individually. Scott?
Brittany, it's 2026. If someone's not on AA, analytical accounting, at this point, can clients move to analytical accounting and add that in their effort to get more value out of their system? And if so, does that help if they're potentially moving to Business Central in the future and using Dimensions?
Okay, it's a great question. Analytical accounting can be added at any time. It is no longer being purchased a la carte inside of the Microsoft world. You own it. If you have extended pack, you can move to analytical accounting. Yes, you could add AA at any given time. We often do have users that will bring AA on at a different type or even modify their AA that they do have. Yes, 100% you can bring AA on at a later time. That is, and you don't have to have it at all your companies. You can have it in one and not have it in your other three. Yes, please feel free to reach out to us if you are thinking about that, because there is an intermediary in between. You don't have to go full-blown AA. You can also go what we call MDA, which is multi-dimensional analysis. It is also open to you, and to understand the differences, I'd be more than happy to have a chat about what the differences are between, do I just add an extra segment to my GL? Do I go the MDA route, or do I go AA because my current chart of account isn't capturing all of that information? Or maybe it has additional information that it needs to have. Now, I know in our Back to Basics series that we are having in the next couple of weeks, we will be chatting about what are the differences between MDA and AA. So if that has perked your interest, please come out and check us out again. We're going to be having some more information about what that is, because there is a lot of curiosity out in the GP land.
That's the perfect teaser for Golden Years Back to Basics series. Yes. You mentioned extended pack for Dynamics GP. Just for a point of clarity, I think it was as of GP 2023, everyone now gets it at no additional charge. So it was one of those things that came out, I think it was 18.3 or something like that.
Yes, I'd have to double check the version because sometimes that doesn't stick in my brain. But yes, Scott is 100% correct on that.
If you're current and you're on the most recent version, you automatically get that, and then that introduces that whole extra how to get more out of your current systems.
Yes.
Thanks, Brittany.
And as you brought up, any of the new systems that you might be moving into, especially Business Central or F&O or FNSC, as you might know it now, moves to a dimensional base instead of the string base of a GL account we're used to seeing. And SmartList is a great way to extract that out of there. And from our core GP one, we can go to our account transactions, and you can actually add in your each individual, what we call segment inside a GP. So in this case, I can break out my main account. And I just put that on the end, didn't I? Yes, there's my main account. And I can have my sub and my department. And you can break those out into their dimensions, which are actually segments inside a GP, because you'd be moving from a string base to a dimensional base. And as for another teaser, we'll actually be talking about what you need to know if you are planning to move off a GP. And that is one of the large parts of those discussions of what is the difference between moving to Business Central or FNSC, and what are some things, and even if you are not moving to one of those two products, what are things that I need to consider about in the middle while I'm still running GP and where I'm planning to go to? Because as we all know, we still need to operate and run today to the best of our abilities and have no interruptions to our day-to-day business as we are doing those. Now, I am over time a little bit because I did want to make sure that we had some question and answers open on the floor. And I'm hoping Scott can help me out and open Q&A if he has not already.
Yeah, let me get back to the PowerPoint. I'll be extra quick. Dun, dun, dun. Jump to slide 10. There we go. Fireworks. Thank you, Brittany. Anyone who does want to receive these no-charge ESI SmartList, if you're on a support plan, reply to the original invite, which was events@endeavor4solutions.com, or reach out to our support desk. For those who have been with us, we have a variety of support desk emails, but our current most recent one is support@endeavor4solutions.com. All the other emails from the past support emails still go to the same support team, still go to the same support queue. You'll just receive your reply through here. If you're not yet on a GP support plan, expect a phone call from Paul around the time of your GP renewal, or ask events or ask support, hey, can I talk to Paul? I want to learn more about the GP support plan because I want to get these no-charge ESI, which was formerly Endeavor Solutions, Inc., smart lists. So those that are watching recording or those that have been longtime customers, we've grown quite a bit. We're now 1,200 active clients, 650 which are on GP, and we have all the certifications you'd expect and want from a top North American partner. We have an enterprise team and mid-market and SMB teams. We have CRM teams. We have AI and advisory services teams. All of the Microsoft tools and only Microsoft tools here to support you. Our 4 core values: knowledge, integrity, trust, and accountability. We use internally, but also, strongly encourage all our consultants to really live those values when they're working with you, our valued clients. Again, certifications, and can do the cloud migrations if you are ready to move off of GP over to Business Central, over to finance and supply chain. On our GP Support North site, so gpsupportnorth.com, anyone right now, you can click on the screen and it will take you to that website. We are doing some rebranding, so you'll notice different logos, and we're rewriting the white paper so it reflects current AI. That white paper is going to be updated in the next week or two. The current white paper that's there, 9 out of 10 things are exactly the same. We're just adding in how does GP operate within the world of AI. If you go to our main website, Endeavor4solutions.com, under the small and mid-market, you'll find all the access to GP, and eventually be pointing you back to our GP Support North website because that's where we're holding everything. And Brittany, over to you now. Thank you. Questions? There's lots of smart lists. Ask Brittany some questions. You can type it into the chat or the Q&A, and I will moderate to the best of my abilities.
Awesome. I think there was some questions in there about if you were a municipality, if you can still have your smart lists. I think I saw that some pop up somewhere in there. So I want to take a chance to answer that. Yes, you are still have the ability if you are using a Central Square product, you still have smart lists and you can customize them. You just need to make sure you are looking at the appropriate tables for what you have enabled or not enabled inside of Central Square. Whether you have property tax, utilities, so on and so on. But yes, we'd love to help you out with any smart lists you might need to keep your reporting needs, or even just some ad hoc queries inside of there.
And we basically know where all those tables and all the skeletons are buried inside of GP in those systems over the last several years.
Yes, we hang out in them a little too often. And I think I also saw that Ian still has his pervasive certificate. Good for you. It's been a little while since we've used pervasive, but I always like to see another pervasive member out in the crowd.
Yeah, Ian mentioned GP10. So that's like GP 2009.
I started on GP version 7. I know I said we were not going to age ourselves here, but I started on GP 7. That's where I started, I guess, my long career inside of GP, and made us be a proud GPer as we started on those versions. But GP 10 was great. It's when we introduced multi-currency.
Yeah. That was back when it was called Great Plains, which is where the GP came from. And it was
Oh.
Great Plains Dynamics. And that's where Microsoft invented the word Microsoft Dynamics, was because of their acquisition of Great Plains. I thought that was kind of cool, one of the histories.
I did not know that. Learn something new every day.
Dynamics 365, Dynamics Nav, Dynamics AX. The word Dynamics came because they bought the ERP from Great Plains.
Nice. That's really cool. It's interesting to know. Are there any custom smart lists that somebody would like to see that they don't necessarily have, but would like to have? Ooh, 2.04. Ooh, I definitely was not around for that.
That's back in the 90s.
I had other things I was doing.
You were a controller back then as well.
Yes. I loved AP a little too much at that time.
Okay, I'm our valued clients and loyal audience are somewhat shy today. If you do have additional questions, you can either fire them off to support team, either billable or non-billable, depending on the nature of your GP support plan. And again, please keep an eye out for our Back to Basics webinar series within the GP Golden Years to help you get more out of your systems today and tomorrow and be looking towards the future. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.